Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Comics Evolve, where we discuss all things around comics media culture with your hosts, Andy, Jarian, and Alex.
This is Comics Evolve with myself, Andy, Jarian, and Alex. We're here today to talk about that Blue Beetle trailer, DC's latest installment coming soon. It looks great. I'm not a huge Blue Beetle fan. Well, I say that. I don't know a great deal about Blue Beetle, but it's good. We've got somebody who does. Alex, what are your feelings about this movie?
So I'm pretty excited for this. Originally, I've heard that this was supposed to be an HBO Max release,
Yep.
and they pushed this up. They were so excited about it. They thought this movie looked so good. They were like, "Let's put it in theaters," which I think is a very exciting thing for them. That's a huge kind of push for them to want to put this movie from HBO to in theaters. So very exciting there. Movie looks great. This is the third Blue Beetle. This is going to be the one that has been Blue Beetle, I guess, since about 2006. So this is going to be the most recent Blue Beetle in the stories. The original two are kind of featured kind of in a little Easter egg in this movie in a couple ways. You see Cord Industries, which is Ted Cord was the second Blue Beetle. You see his ship, which is the flying Blue Beetle ship in this trailer. You see his suit and his costume along with the first Blue Beetle, which is Dan Garrett, which is at the end of the trailer. You'll see in the little layer looking area that they're in, you'll see their costumes standing up in the background. So there's a lot of cool shouts to the previous Blue Beetles that came before. The Scarab is a very cool piece. It goes all the way back to ancient Egypt and stories, back to Hawkman, kind of that time, Black Adam. It originally has some magical kind of links and ties, but they've changed it now to where it's more alien focused, and it's more of it comes from an alien world. And you see in the trailer that I think the villain of this is going to be the sister of Ted Cord. And she says that the Scarab has chose you, but it belongs to me because it's her family's. So
And that's
interesting.
Susan Sarandon, yeah?
Yep.
Mhm.
That's Susan Sarandon's character. I mean, they've brought in a big gun there to play the villain. If that's the case. Jaren, what are your first thoughts on it?
I think it looks great. I was kind of, excited to see this trailer because just seeing the stills of it and my limited knowledge of Blue Beetle and so forth, I thought it looked great. I'm excited for it. I thought they got the CGI and the suit and just the whole transformation. It also looks like George Lopez is his uncle in the movie, I think, or some relative. So, there's another big gun in the movie as well. So he's going to bring that comedic role. So I'm really looking forward to this movie.
Yeah,
That
I like
costume
the
looks
transformation.
amazing.
I was just about to say, let's talk about that costume and that transformation. I'm almost a little bit disappointed that we've seen some of that transformation because that looks incredible. That transformation, and yeah, the costume and the whole way. There was quite a few things it reminded me of. And his face, it reminded me a little bit of Deadpool, especially when he's cutting through the bus and he done that kind of oops, and his face changes, doesn't it? It's not a fixed face. It's not a fixed mask, is it?
It kind of moves with his facial expressions. It reforms like that. It looked like as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's kind of like a technomorph, kind of his tech will kind of change and adapt to him. And I mean, you see it in that scene too, where the bus is coming at him, so it makes a shield and cuts the bus right in half. And then after it does it, it all just disappears and goes back into the suit and back into the Scarab, really. But
it's almost like nanotech we saw with Iron Man that we saw in Infinity War. Kind of similar concept there with the nanotech, how we can reshape it and move it around, that kind of stuff. Looks similar. I'm not comparing the suits. I'm just saying the nanotech likeness of it looks familiar.
The Scarab, is it because what it reminded me of a little bit was almost like a symbiote type relationship between the Scarab and the host, but because the Scarab seems to have its own sort of personality, almost like an AI personality. Is that am I along the right lines?
Yeah, basically. I mean, you kind of more or less you have this it kind of operates out of self-preservation, right? So this thing is originally I know in the Young Justice show when they touched on this, it was kind of it would talk to him. Nobody would ever hear it talking to him.
Okay.
And it would be one of those things like as he was like going about his life, it would be like, kill this person, kill them now. And he'd be like, all right, no, I'm not gonna do that. And he would like say that, and somebody would be like, who are you talking to right now? Because it's like in his head. And it operates in such a way that it can't be removed. And the only way it supposedly can be removed is through death.
Oh.
Okay.
Like the first Blue Beetle, Dan Garrett, when he found it, he was like an archaeologist. So when he found it, it actually gave him all the same abilities, more or less, but different costume, different appearance. The second Blue Beetle tried to use it, but it wouldn't attach itself to him. It wouldn't use like him as a host. So
Right.
he was more like Batman. He would like run around with weapons and gadgets and stuff and like punch people and stuff. So he wasn't like that. Jaime Reyes is kind of like the reinvention of the character. Like this, it just kind of chooses a random person more or less and attaches to him, and it's just some young kid, more or less.
Speaking of the young kid, Jolo from Cobra Kai. He was great in Cobra Kai. Really enjoyed him in Cobra Kai. Don't get to see a great deal of him doing his martial arts kind of stuff in this. I don't know whether that plays a big part in this character. Like, what's the sort of fighting style of the Blue Beetle? Is it a little bit of mixed stuff, or where are we looking? Is it sort of more sort of brute force, or what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna see probably things like swords, like you see that nice shot in the trailer with the sword. He likes to use, he flies. He likes to use sound cannons, like Cyborg, I guess, is like a kind of reference point. He likes to use like different like things, different weapons he forms off of his arms. Those can be like in Young Justice, he makes like a staple gun weapon that shoots giant staples at people, which is really interesting. But I mean, like he'll also he'll make like giant clubs and stuff like that, or different things. He's kind of like a technomorph. He can shape his tech however he likes. If
Okay.
he's flying and he wants to fly faster, he'll make his tech make something more that'll make him fly faster.
Exactly like Jarian said then about the Iron Man. Again,
The
not
booster.
comparing suits, but that what it wants. Yeah, it's almost intuitive.
It's almost like that, and also a little Green Lantern light as well, because Green Lantern can manage stuff, imagine stuff, and do what he wants and do things. So it's kind of like nanotech meets Green Lantern in a way.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Nice. Where do you think this is going to set in the DCEU? Is it
That's a great
DCU,
question.
DCEU? Is it going to set in? Is this before the James Gunn stuff? Is it going to tie in? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was like, I think the budget on this movie, I don't think it has to be like a massive budget. Like this can't be like a box office budget movie. Like if it was originally going on HBO Max, I don't imagine that they have like a massive amount of money probably in this movie. I could be wrong on that, but I think that this is one of those things where it's like, I think that this is going to probably depend on how well it does in theaters, maybe mixed with how well it does on HBO Max, because we kind of have a hero here that like not a lot of people really know that well. Blue Beetle was originally, I mean, this character of Blue Beetle has not only been through like 3 different characters, but it's also been through like 3 different publishers almost as well, if not more. So like, I mean, like you have to think like Blue Beetle originally goes back to the same publisher as, I think it's Charlton Comics, as Peacemaker, which we all have seen Peacemaker. James Gunn did that with the show.
Do they cross over?
Peacemaker, Captain Atom, The Question, and I think maybe one more. They're all DC like leftovers from Charlton Comics that have all been like members of the Justice League and stuff like that. So I think like ultimately, like, they could all cross over at some point, but I'm saying like the Blue Beetle's been kind of changed a little bit and modernized from where it was like more magical originally. Now it's more like a tech-based character. So it's like it's done some modernizing, it's done some adapting. I think like a lot of people don't know this version, so how well people respond to it, I think, is what depends his future in DCU.
Do you think they could keep this self-contained, sort of like they should have done with Shazam, and keep this all to its own little self-contained universe for now? Because I'm trying to see where this fits in with the vision going forward, because if I remember correctly, this was planned before the transition to Safarin and Gunn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now it's still coming out, and we're seeing some of those earlier planned movies come out, before them.
Mm-hmm.
If this does well, they definitely should keep this self-contained and not try to fit it in the larger universe. Because, like I said, I don't see where this is going to fit in. Maybe, since you said, it's part of the same publisher as Peacemaker, maybe some crossover there. Maybe with the whole thing we saw in the first season of Peacemaker, that they can tie together and team up or be frenemies type of thing. So yeah, interesting to see. Because I think with what we see with the comedic stuff in the trailer, this might fit in well with what we've seen in Peacemaker, with that kind of banter and so forth.
I think with Booster Gold on the horizon, if they're going to put it with anything else, I think I would push that with Booster Gold. But I originally think those two projects were like completely separate. No, like idea to ever put those two together, and that's only because Booster Gold and Ted Kord, the second Blue Beetle, were friends, so they could kind of like shift it to the third Blue Beetle if they really wanted to, which I mean they've kind of done a little bit, but like kind of play a little bit there and make young like Booster Gold and young Blue Beetle from the future, or from the third one, current one, and push them together. I think, and they could sort of do that. I think that would work okay. But
if it's Chris Pratt as Booster Gold, could you see that working with Sholo?
I feel like Chris Pratt would probably be too old at that point, but I think Chris Pratt would be like the perfect Booster Gold, to be honest, because like Booster Gold's kind of like Star-Lord, kind of like a time traveling
Yep.
Star-Lord. He's kind of goofy. He's like a superhero only because he's from the future and he comes back with tech from the future. So he's just more advanced with more advanced tech,
It's like Star-Lord coming back to Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's definitely a more comedic tone about this project as well, by the looks of it. It's not your sort of typical, DC's obviously been known to be a little bit darker and a little bit sort of grittier than other comic based movies, and this looks right on the sort of nose of comedy almost. Witty, that sort of witty character, little quirks, little quips that the character's got that he says when he's fighting. Is that normal for that character, or at least this version of that character?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have the little quips. You're gonna have the like him talking to the Scarab, and the dialogue back and forth that I think people will mistake as a conversation with them throughout the fights, where like he's gonna be talking to the Scarab and somebody's like, "Why did you just say this to me?" Like in a fight, like and it's gonna be like, "Well, he's not talking to you." And one of the most interesting things is like I was the only thing that I thought was strange about this movie was I thought the Scarab reminded me of like the Karen AI from Spider-Man. How friendly it was. And I never imagined that the Scarab's AI would be that friendly, because it's like more hostile. It's more like, kill this person, like destroy them. They're a threat to us. Like we need to eliminate them now. Like at all times, like like it's always like skeptical of everybody. Like
we may see that. Final thoughts, Alex. What's your final thoughts on this trailer, on where you're expecting this movie to go?
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I honestly, I don't think that this movie is going to be like, a massive box office like killer or anything like that. I think this might I actually think it's going to do better than Fury of the Gods, the second Shazam movie. I think
Not
this
hard.
movie, yeah, well, but yeah, I think it's going to do well. For it, like I said, it's not going to have a massive budget, I think so. And it kind of has like a little bit of a Power Rangers feel to it, a little bit. I know a lot of people are saying it's similar to a lot of other things, but honestly, I think a lot of the shots look great. I think the costume looks great, and I think like watching the trailer, people are going to be excited because like if they don't know what it is, I think that they'll probably show up to this theater based on the trailer itself.
Yeah, they'll want to know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be like, I'm curious.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I am. I didn't know anything about the character. Jaren, final thoughts?
Yeah, Alex made a great point. It does feel Power Rangey without the Zords. So I'm all for it. I like the kind of style of tech. I think this looks great. I like the cast of the movie. So I know very little about Blue Beetle. I'm probably going to start reading some more about Blue Beetle now. But I'm excited for it. So I'm looking forward to it. Something I'll go into, looking to enjoy something without any kind of preconceived notion, any kind of ties, anything. It's just a movie that I'll go in and enjoy.
Fantastic. He's out in August, later this year, end of the summer. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for joining us. Catch us on our Facebook group, Comics Evolved, Marvel fans, DC fans, Star Wars fans. Get on our other channels, Instagram, Twitch, Trovo, Twitter. We're there. We're
YouTube.
everywhere. And YouTube, of course. Thanks for joining us. Catch you next time.
See ya.
See you guys.